The growing resource hunger. This opinion examines how Pakistan's escalating fiscal and foreign exchange demands reflect deep economic strains and a sapped state apparatus. Consider two things carefully. This opening sentence serves as the thesis statement, signaling that two interrelated problems underlie the article's argument. First, the burden on compliant taxpayers is spiraling higher and higher every year, with a marked acceleration in the preceding 3 years. Compliant taxpayers is a phrase referring to citizens who duly pay their taxes. Spiraling is an idiomatic expression meaning increasing rapidly out of control. Marked acceleration is a noun phrase meaning a noticeable speeding up. This sentence means that ordinary taxpayers are facing ever-growing tax demands, especially over the last 3 years. Second, dollar buying by the state bank is continuing with unchecked ferocity, leaving behind little for the rest in starving private markets. Dollar buying is a compound noun, meaning the central bank's purchase of U.S. dollars to bolster reserves. Unchecked ferocity is a noun phrase meaning extreme force without restraint. Starving is a verb used metaphorically to mean depriving or denying resources. This sentence means that the central bank is hoarding dollars aggressively, squeezing the private sector out of foreign exchange supplies. Both these phenomena are symptoms of a single problem, a state apparatus that can no longer generate the resources required for its own upkeep. Phenomena is the plural of phenomenon, meaning observable events or facts. State apparatus is a jargon term for the institutions and machinery of government. This sentence ties the two trends to a core issue. Pakistan's government cannot raise enough money to function. In short, this relentless tightening of conditions in the economy, despite the much vaunted stabilization that has taken place, reflects the erosion of the underlying financial and economic viability of the state, and by extension, of Pakistan's economy, as presently constituted. Relentless tightening is a noun phrase meaning unceasing pressure. Much vaunted is an adjective meaning widely praised, often excessively. Erosion is a noun meaning gradual decline or deterioration. Viability is a noun meaning the ability to work successfully. This sentence means that even though stability is celebrated, constant austerity is wearing down Pakistan's fiscal foundations. These last three words are key because it is equally important to remind ourselves that it does not have to be like this. Last three words refers to as presently constituted. This sentence means that Pakistan's current predicament is not inevitable. Change is possible. But for the time being it is, and the problem is going to aggravate with time. For the time being is an idiomatic phrase meaning temporarily. Aggravate is a verb meaning to make worse. This sentence issues a warning that, unless reforms occur, the situation will deteriorate further. Just consider two stories from the week thus far. Thus far is an idiomatic expression, meaning up to now. This sentence introduces concrete examples to illustrate the article's points. On Tuesday, a well-connected group of business leaders from Lahore and Karachi met with the Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir to convey their concerns about the ramped-up powers being given to the FBR, particularly the powers of arrest. Well-connected is an adjective meaning having influential contacts. Ramped up is a phrasal adjective meaning increased or intensified. FBR is an acronym for the Federal Board of Revenue, Pakistan's tax authority. This sentence reports that top businessmen protested new arrest powers granted to the tax agency. The delegation presented a comprehensive overview of the challenges faced by the industrial sector, their press release said following the meeting, with particular emphasis on the recently enacted expansions of the Federal Board of Revenue's powers. Delegation is a noun meaning a group of representatives. Comprehensive overview is a noun phrase meaning a thorough summary. This sentence quotes the business representative's formal statement on their concerns. The expansion in powers refers to the powers of arrest that the FBR enjoys, which have been strengthened in the latest budget. This sentence clarifies that the budget increased FBR's authority to detain suspects. Other things came under discussion too, but the press release suggests this was the primary reason for the visit, while the opportunity was used to also convey other concerns regarding interest rates and power tariffs. Came under discussion is a phrasal verb meaning were talked about. This sentence means that, beyond FBR powers, business leaders raised issues like high borrowing costs and utility prices. The second story, published in this paper, points to an enduring dollar shortage that has gripped financial markets in Pakistan for a number of months now and refuses to go away. Enduring is an adjective meaning lasting a long time. Gripped is a verb meaning seized or controlled. This sentence introduces the second example, a persistent lack of dollars in markets. And on Wednesday, a statement was released by Malik Boston, the head of the Exchange Companies Association of Pakistan, announcing that on Tuesday, he met with the ISI in which they were asked to explain why the rate of the dollar has been rising in the open market in recent days. Exchange companies refers to licensed currency exchange businesses. ISI is the acronym for the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency. This sentence reports that money changer groups were even summoned by intelligence to account for rising black market dollar rates. In his response, Boston blamed the black market operators, saying their hand is strengthened the more the state clamps down on exchange company operations in the formal sector. Black market operators refers to illegal currency dealers. Clamps down on is a phrasal verb meaning to impose strict controls. This sentence means that tighter regulation of official exchangers has pushed business into the illegal market. Meanwhile, the shortages in the banking system persist despite rising inflows into the country in the last fiscal year. Persist is a verb meaning continue unchanged. Inflows is a noun meaning incoming funds. This sentence notes that, even though foreign exchange inflows have increased, banks still lack dollars. Initially, a few months ago, we were told this shortage exists because of delays in the rollover of some Chinese debt obligation. Rollover is a financial term meaning renewing or extending debt. Obligation is a noun meaning a debt or duty. This sentence recalls the government's original explanation for the dollar crunch, delayed debt refinancing. But those rollovers were secured by the end of June, and another $1.5 billion secured through loans from two Middle Eastern commercial banks, and government sources confirmed to news reporters that their IMF-mandated target for foreign exchange reserves by in June 2025 had been met. Secured is a verb meaning obtained or arranged. IMF-mandated target is a jargon phrase meaning the reserve level required by the International Monetary Fund. This sentence shows that external funding pledges were fulfilled and reserves hit the IMF target. Then came news that remittances posted a record high. They post a record high almost every year, so not a big deal really. But more importantly, the current account posted a surplus of $2.1 billion, whereas the IMF program had projected a deficit of $200 million. Remittances is a noun meaning money sent home by overseas workers. Current account is a technical term in balance of payments accounting. Surplus is a noun meaning excess of inflows over outflows. This sentence means that workers' remittances broke records and the trade balance unexpectedly swung to a surplus. Foreign exchange reserves held by the state bank were projected by the fund to be around $13.9 billion by end FY25. They came in at $14.5 billion instead, higher by $600 million. This sentence points out that reserves exceeded IMF forecasts by $600 million. So if the external sector of the economy has performed better than expected, and foreign currency reserves are even higher than what they were projected to be, why is there still a shortage of dollars in the financial markets? This sentence poses the central paradox driving the argument: reserves are healthy on paper, yet markets lack currency. Why are black markets springing up and pressures mounting in the open market? To the point. Springing up is a phrasal verb meaning appearing suddenly. This sentence highlights the rise of illegal currency trading despite ample reserves. One answer is that all the dollars flowing into the country from high remittances and resilient exports are being bought up by the state bank, leaving behind little for private players. Resilient exports is a jargon phrase meaning goods sold abroad that continue despite challenges. This sentence suggests the central bank is hoarding incoming dollars, starving private markets. And the open market, which is also fed by remittances and foreign currency brought in by travelers from abroad, as per their own telling anyway, is finding black market customers for foreign currency at higher price points and therefore preferring to keep a growing share of their transactions there as opposed to the regulated market, where they are compelled to sell dollars at a rate agreeable to their friends in Pindi. Open market refers to official, licensed forex trading channels. Price points is a noun meaning specific exchange rates. Pindi is shorthand for Rawalpindi, symbolizing the military bureaucratic establishment. This sentence means that licensed exchangers choose the black market's higher rates over selling at the state bank's low fixed price. As a result, reserves are outperforming their projections, while private market players wonder aloud where all the dollars are going. This sentence contrasts healthy reserves with private sector confusion over currency shortages. I am surprised why the state bank has tightened the market so severely when it has already met the IMF target. A story published in this paper quotes a market analyst as saying, "Tighten the market" is a phrasal verb meaning impose strict controls on trading. This sentence quotes an expert questioning the logic of hoarding dollars after fulfilling IMF conditions. Why indeed? This rhetorical question underscores the article's central mystery. The government overperformed on fiscal and external sector metrics in FY25, and they waste no opportunity to remind the rest of us of what a great achievement this is, to have stabilized the economy following the epic upheavals that racked it post-2021. Overperformed is a verb meaning did better than required. Metrics is a jargon term for quantitative measures. Epic upheavals is a dramatic noun phrase meaning massive disruptions. Racked it is a phrasal verb meaning severely affected or pummeled. This sentence means that, while officials boast stability after recent crises, markets remain under strain. But yet, here we are. This brief sentence expresses ironic frustration that real-world conditions contradict official claims. The hunger for dollars continues. The hunger for revenues leaves the state famished despite having not just met, but blown past some key targets in the fund program. And this hunger drives them to press harder and harder on financial markets and compliant taxpayers to extract more and more from them. Hunger is a metaphor for intense need. Famished is an adjective meaning starved. Blown past is a phrasal verb meaning significantly exceeded. This sentence means that, far from easing up, the government is squeezing markets and taxpayers to fill a growing resource gap. This is not going to end by itself. This sentence warns that the crisis requires deliberate action, not passive waiting. It will continue like this because the pressure for resources, fiscal and FX in this case, is not coming only from the need to meet IMF program targets. FX is shorthand for foreign exchange. This sentence explains that demand for money stems from broader obligations, not just IMF compliance. It is in significant measure also coming from the need to rearm following the recent war with India. This sentence adds that defense expenditures after conflict with India are draining resources. But in very large measure, the pressure is mounting because the failure to reform the system over the preceding years has yielded a rigid economy that cannot meet the emerging requirements of a growing economy. This sentence blames lack of structural reforms for creating an inflexible economy unable to generate needed funds. Until those reforms or an external bailout come, these pressures will only keep mounting. External bailout is a noun phrase meaning financial rescue from abroad. This sentence concludes that without reform or outside assistance, fiscal and currency stresses will intensify. The writer is a business and economy journalist. This sentence identifies the author's expertise without further explanation. Published in Dawn, July 24, 2025, this sentence states,